The police closed the case, but the ghost of the crime lives on in the code.
Fluent Fables. Learn English with story.
The sterile air in Elias Thorne's penthouse studio tasted of ozone and expensive electronics. It hummed with a low, almost imperceptible thrum, the sound of 1,000 algorithms working in silent tandem. Detective Lena Hayes stood perfectly still, her hands clasped behind her back, a figure of calm in the chaotic aftermath of a death that was anything but. The official report, already scribbled with haste and sealed with bureaucratic indifference, declared it a suicide. A tragic fall, a brilliant artist succumbing to the weight of his own genius. The physical evidence, or rather the lack of it, supported the verdict. No forced entry, no signs of struggle, just a final, fatal leap into the void. But Lena saw things the others didn't. She saw the way the dust motes danced in the lone sunbeam, untouched, an imperceptible disruption that told her no struggle had occurred, yet felt profoundly wrong. A faint sheen of moisture on the floor near the empty window was too pristine, a detail no one else noticed. She saw the perfect symmetry of the scattered sketchbooks, a theatrical placement rather than a frantic toss. This wasn't a suicide, it was a fabrication, a meticulously crafted stage designed to tell a lie. The body was gone, but the ghost remained. The AI-driven art installations, usually a riot of kinetic light and sound, now pulsed with a quiet, unsettling rhythm. Their vibrant light, the only color in the stark white space. Elias Thorne's final work, The Cipher, an installation whispered to be his masterpiece, was missing. Its pedestal stood empty, a glaring omission in a meticulously planned gallery opening. The art world, a conundrum of wealth and deceit, was not known for its honesty, but this was a new level of audacity. Lena, a detective who had built her career on the digital trail, felt the silent perfection of the scene unsettling. It was too clean, too silent, a void where a story should have been. The silence was a lie, a confession waiting to be found. Her phone vibrated, a welcome interruption to the suffocating quiet. It was her partner, Detective Miller, his voice a gruff contrast to the silent elegance of the studio. "What are you doing, Lena?" Miller's voice came through the phone, impatience a low current beneath his words. The chief said to wrap it up. "This is a closed case." "I'm looking for a killer, Miller," she said, her gaze fixed on the subtle flicker of a smart bulb. "And a stolen piece of technology." Thorne was a weirdo, Lena. Lived his life on the edge of a cliff. He worked alone. He had no friends. "It's a tragedy, not a crime. You're wasting time." "The most convincing lies are built on a foundation of truth," she retorted, already walking towards the digital hub of the studio. Never had she seen a crime scene so pristine, so intentionally empty of clues. Her fingers moved across a sleek control panel, her movements fluid and purposeful. No fingerprints, of course. That was a physical clue, and this was not a physical crime. Digital footprints, however, were her domain. She saw the minute logs of the smart home system, the timing of the lights, the ambient temperature, the oxygen levels. Everything was perfectly normal, but to Lena, the normalcy was the anomaly. She trusted her intuition, honed over years of staring into the digital abyss, where the most damning evidence was often found in the negative space. She knew this was going to be a battle. Miller and the chief were old school. They needed blood, a knife, a gun. Lena needed a Wi-Fi signal, an IP address, and a trace of a digital ghost. She looked at the empty pedestal again, a hollow monument to a stolen secret. That, she decided, was her first clue. The ghost in the machine wasn't Thorne. It was the person who'd been there before her. The suspects materialized one by one, their public personas a stark juxtaposition to the desperation Lena sensed simmering beneath the surface. She began with Jaden Reed, a renowned traditional painter. Lena met him in his studio, a glorious mess of canvases, splattered paint, and the sharp scent of turpentine. It was the antithesis of Thorne's sterile world. Jaden wiped his paint-stained hands on a rag, not even bothering to offer a handshake. "He was a charlatan," Jaden spat, his voice laced with venom. "A glorified programmer with a paintbrush. He stole the soul of art and turned it into a soulless algorithm. I am a true artist. My hands, my canvas, that is art. He plagiarized my concepts, my passion." Jaden's jealousy was a palpable thing, a motive painted in broad, furious strokes. "I was too busy creating real art to be bothered with his digital nonsense," he he scoffed, crossing his arms over his paint-smeared apron. You can check with my assistants. They can vouch for my presence. Lena noted the arrogance, the certainty in his voice. He believed his physical presence, his witnesses, made him untouchable. But Lena knew that in the digital age, a physical alibi was just another layer of deception. She was far more interested in the digital residue he'd left behind. Next, Sophia Kramer, Thorne's art dealer and the owner of the gallery set to host his final show, arrived in a flurry of expensive fabric and cheap excuses. Her financial woes were a public secret, her gallery on the brink of bankruptcy. She spoke of Thorne with a practiced mournfulness that lacked all veracity. His death is a tragedy, a terrible loss, she said, her eyes flitting to the empty pedestal. Her hands, Lena noticed, were trembling, a slight, almost imperceptible tremor that Sophia tried to conceal by gripping the fabric of her coat. His final piece would have saved my gallery. The money was a matter of life and death for me. Lena's eyes bore into her. Why? She asked simply. Sophia's face tightened. I am a businesswoman, detective. My books are my own. She spoke of her meetings, her travel, her appointments, all confirmed by her assistant. Her alibi was a solid wall of human interaction. Lena felt a profound sadness for her. She saw not a killer, but a woman trapped by circumstances, desperate enough to do anything. Finally, there was Daniel Chen, the quiet, elusive programmer who had built the very technology Thorne used. He spoke in a near whisper, his hands fidgeting with a loose thread on his jacket. He was the most unassuming of the three, the one who seemed least likely to commit murder. Lena interviewed him in a quiet coffee shop, away from the sterile art world. Elias was my friend, he mumbled, his voice devoid of emotion. He trusted me. I helped him build all of this. He had an ironclad alibi, confirmed by a geolocation tracker on his phone. He had been miles away at his sister's house, attending a family dinner, a physical impossibility. I had no reason to hurt him, Daniel said, his eyes fixed on the floor. He gave me everything. But to Lena, the very passivity, the lack of grief, was a red flag. He was a man with nothing to lose, yet he seemed to be holding on to a secret with a white-knuckle grip. Lena's breakthrough came when she found a hidden folder on Thorne's server. It contained a single, encrypted audio file. The file was labeled The Cipher, Audio Log. It took her hours to break the complex encryption, a testament to Thorne's paranoia. When she finally played the file, the truth began to unravel. It was a recording of a hushed conversation between Thorne and Sophia Kramer. The file ended there, but it wasn't the end of the story. Lena's investigation into the code she'd found earlier revealed that Jaden and Daniel weren't just plotting to steal Thorne's technology. They were also a part of this criminal enterprise. Sophia had been orchestrating an extortion scheme, and Jaden, her accomplice, had framed the rival artist, Thorne, to take the fall. The blackmail had turned to murder. The premeditated plot began to take shape. I need more time, Sophia pleaded, her voice thick with desperation. I'll pay you back, I swear. My final piece, The Cipher, will expose you, Sophia. Thorne's voice was cold and precise. I've documented everything, the forged receipts, the shell companies, the embezzlement. It's all there, embedded in the art's core programming. You have 24 hours to give me everything you owe, or the art goes live, and your career, your freedom, is gone. The file ended there, but it wasn't the end of the story. Lena's investigation into the code she'd found earlier revealed that Jaden and Daniel weren't just plotting to steal Thorne's technology. They were also a part of this criminal enterprise. Sophia had been orchestrating an extortion scheme, and Jaden, her accomplice, had framed the rival artist Thorne to take the fall. The blackmail had turned to murder. The premeditated plot began to take shape. The final act played out not in a courtroom, but in the sterile silence of the precinct's interrogation room. Lena stood before all three suspects, a calm observer of their unraveling. She didn't shout. She didn't accuse. She spoke with the quiet, devastating authority of someone who had seen the whole picture, the complete digital blueprint of their conspiracy. "I know what happened to Elias Thorne," she began, her voice low and steady. "I know how you killed him, and I know why." Sophia Kramer laughed, a brittle, hysterical sound. "He killed himself, detective. It's over." "He didn't," Lena said, her eyes fixed on Daniel Chen. "He was a prisoner in his own studio. The systems were programmed to respond only to his biometric data. No one could enter without his consent. But someone didn't need to enter. They needed to make it look like they didn't need to." She turned to Sophia. "You were going to reveal Thorne's location to Jaden, who would then steal the cipher to sell to Sophia and cover up the extortion scheme." "This is insane," Jaden interjected. "We were at my studio." "Your phones show you were at the studio, but your wearable technology shows something else," Lena explained calmly. "It shows your ostensibly solid alibis are nothing but a lie." She turned to Daniel, the true mastermind. "You, Daniel, created a backdoor in the operating system of the smart home technology. You surreptitiously installed a remote control module in the system's core. You created a ghost in the machine." Daniel's face went pale. The others stared at him in disbelief. He had given them the means to kill Thorne without leaving a physical trace. He had secretly controlled the lighting and air quality in the room, creating an environment that was slowly and subtly lethal. He had shut off the oxygen sensors, leading to a gradual loss of consciousness, and then a seemingly natural death. The fall from the window was a theatrical detail, a final act of deception by a master manipulator. He'd done it for revenge. Thorne had been taking all the credit for Daniel's work, leaving him in the shadows. Lena looked at the three of them, their conspiracy of silence shattered. "You tried to hide your crime in plain sight in the digital noise of the world, but in my line of work, the silence speaks the loudest." Daniel broke first, his composure crumbling into sobs. He confessed everything: the extortion, the elaborate plan, the premeditated murder. The silent ghost in the machine was finally laid to rest. The truth, as Lena had always known, was not to be found in what was visible, but in what was hidden. Imperceptible, not able to be perceived by the senses, extremely subtle or small. Example: the differences between the two paintings were imperceptible to the untrained eye. Conundrum: a confusing and difficult problem or question. Example: the puzzle presented a difficult conundrum that baffled even the most experienced detectives. Veracity: conformity to facts, accuracy. Example: the reporter was fired after the veracity of his sources came into question. Elusive: difficult to find, catch, or achieve. Example: the truth about the missing artifact remained elusive for years. Disparity: a great difference. Example: there is a significant disparity between the wealth of the rich and the poor. The case is closed, but the conversation is just beginning. I want to hear your thoughts on the ghost in the machine. Drop a comment and tell me what you found most surprising. If you had fun solving this puzzle, give the video a thumbs up and share it with fellow language learners. We've got another intriguing story coming soon, so subscribe now to be part of the community.